So, welcome to Carpdell, it says up there. So, yes, welcome to Carpdell. I'm in Watford, and this weekend I'll be finally using washing line technique. Now, many years ago, this is probably, crikey, 6 or 7 years ago, I came here for the first time, and this lake absolutely screamed washing line technique, and I didn't have anything specific to actually do anything. So with a bit of ingenuity, I mocked something up, as most people do, storm pole or a bank stick, an elastic band, or one of the wife's hair bands, or whatever you can, and then kind of loop the line through with a stick or a bit of grass or whatever. Well, it works, but doesn't work wonderfully well. And when you're sort of getting the rods out sort of 50-60 yards, you can't really get that tension that you need to get that line fully out of the water. So in my head, I had this grand idea that we were going to have this product and needed something to grip the line, and we can pull it tight and then it would just come unclipped. And it took forever for me to find something. I drew stuff up, and I was looking on eBay and all the sites everywhere and all different manufacturers just to try and find something. Well, eventually I found this little sort of gadget. And seemingly I wasn't alone in this venture either, because by the time I found this gadget, so I'd many others, and I think one company had even got it out there as well to sell. But this wasn't to sell, no, this was just for me. But I felt I could do better. I felt I could not do better maybe, but certainly better the product. So I had a chat with an engineering friend of mine, Dave Woods, at Top Notch Tackle, and he mocked me something up like this. Now, this little fella allows you to use a little marker light, or their little reflector stem, or whatever they call it. This is a Ridge Monkey one, and this is remote control and light activated. So at night I can get my boat out or cast or whatever I need to do. And especially here, where every cuts in the trees look very similar when you're around the other side, you can light up your one specific rod that is gone or you need to recast, and you know when you go around there or send your boat out, that's the right one, and then you can clip it up to the right one. And then basically all that does then is it just screws in, whoops, and that just screws in there like that. They're brand new, so it's got a bit of dirt in it. There we go. And that just screws in there, and then I've got a bank stick thread there, and that can just go straight into a bank stick or a storm pole, as I've got around the other side. And then a little length of paracord, and there's my clip. So I've got 2 rods out on this, so fingers crossed, it's looking good for it. And we shall see how we get on. So here we are all set up. This is my right hand rod, and I'm actually in a swim on the opposite bank, and they love to get down in this corner. So I've just used my bait boat. I've brought it all the way over here in a bait boat. I've taken the rig out, and then I've just bait poled it underneath this tree, and I've connected it onto this clip. Now this is really super tight, this clip, because obviously I don't want to be pulling tight against this and then for it to be sliding what is now a slack line all the way to my rig through this clip and then pulling my line off the spot. So this clip has got to be much tighter than what you'd imagine it would have to be. But obviously you've got a lot of tension on here, which then counteracts any pull you'll get from the fish. So basically any pull you get from here, it will pull free quite easily by the fish. You'll get a sudden drop back at the rod, and you'll be away. So here's my little light. So come tonight, I can either have this set, so when the sun goes down, this light will come on, nice dim light, and I can see it from my swim, or I can turn it off on a remote control at my bivvy and then turn it on as and when I need it. So I'm only fishing underneath this tree, so I need to be super quiet. So I've been down here long enough now, I don't want to disturb them anymore. it's just coming into that kind of witching hour, and it feels really, really good for it. So it's quite likely. I can see a few rings out in the middle of the lake as well, so there's obviously going to be a bit of an insect hatch a bit later on. So I'm going to get away and get back to my rods. The mate's just looking after them at the minute, so get back to my rods, keep my fingers crossed, going to get the kettle off, make myself a brew, and then hopefully we'll get a fish in the net for you. Alright, so I'm not entirely sure you're going to be able to see this on the camera, on the GoPro, but this is the night light. That's the left hand rod, and then number 2 rod. I'm going to sharpen the camera. I'm not quite sure if you can see that. Let me turn this head torch off. See if you can see the change of light colour. That's red, green, sort of purple colour, white. And on cue, we're the train. Don't get a minute's rest here. And then back to red again. Been through the wars, this old one. Been through the wars. Oops. Look up a little bit. Right, so in a very bizarre turn of events, this is the fish I lost at 4 o'clock this morning. Yeah. And it's picked up my other lines that I just put out, and oops, it's a bit angry. Show the other side, and I've got the fish all the way to the net, and then suddenly it starts to feel very graty and a bit weird. And my friend was with me, and I told him I'd lost a fish, and he joked and he said, "Oh, I bet that's that fish you lost." And I was like, "No way, it can't be. I wound in too much line, there's no way that's going to be caught under the rod tip." Well, we got it in the net, and suddenly there's this other line wrapped around it, and I look, but that's my rig in its mouth. Well, yes, it was my rig in its mouth, but my rig that was attached to the rod was caught around something else, and he winched in this, I don't know, mud weight of some sort on a chain. So no wonder why it felt a bit peculiar, and it was that probably broke me off. So quite pleased.
18th century mace.
This gnarly looking thing. So yeah, some sort of rake or mud weight or medieval torturing device, not quite sure. But yeah, glad to have got that out of the lake at least anyway. And now we know the fish isn't trailing as well. So all in all, a good adventure. And thankfully, after all that stress and effort and everything else, it's all paid off. So well happy. And that is me all locked and loaded, and that is all she wrote. So just the one for me, but after all that perseverance, that washing line technique I think really was the key for the day. It just allowed no line to be in the water between me and where my rig was. It allowed me to be super stealthy, super quiet, and with it being so tricky, I think if I hadn't have done that, there's a very, very good chance I wouldn't have caught the fish. So very, very happy with the end result. So see you next time.